Welcome to Emotions and Eating with Nicola Beer. Nicola controlled her feelings using food for 25 years, so she knows how draining it is to be constantly thinking about or acting out with food. Thankfully, having made an amazing breakthrough in her recovery, her mission became about helping others escape the unsatisfying cycle of frustration and self-medication with food. Nicola is determined to help you find your inner strength so you can be healthy, gain confidence, feel great, and be at peace with yourself and food.
Hi and welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to stop fat shaming and start living. When people come to me for emotional eating therapy, one of the first things I explore with them is what they are saying to themselves. Fat shaming is one of the biggest emotional eating causes, as calling yourself fat or saying to yourself you are going to get fat is a sure way to encourage a binge, a purge, worry, and more self-hate. It's a key step in the How to Stop Emotional Eating audio program available on my website, because unless you change this, you won't have peace with food and with yourself that you both deserve and are desiring, because you wouldn't be here listening to this if you weren't desiring some change in your eating habits. Sadly, there is an increasing emphasis on being physically attractive, looking younger and slimmer. In movies from childhood to adulthood, the good guys are typically physically attractive and slim, and the bad guys are overweight and ugly. And this standardization of what is attractive and what we should be striving towards is everywhere we look. And most people don't fit into that picture-perfect image. Yet we are bombarded with adverts telling us we need to try to. It's no wonder then that people start to fat shame themselves from an early age. They make the same mistake I made. They call themselves fat or warn themselves that they're going to get fat in the hope that it will inspire them to eat differently or exercise more. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. All calling yourself fat does is erode your self-confidence, lead you to feel self-conscious and create more dislike towards yourself. And this can have a huge impact on all areas of life. It can have an impact on a marriage, on a close, intimate relationship where you no longer want to have sex, to be naked in front of your partner, to share your body with your partner. It can lead to hiding in the workplace, not asking for the new piece of work or the promotion or whatever it is that you're desiring. It can also impact how we are in social situations. We may avoid networking events, opportunities to mingle. And for some single women and men that I've worked with, this years of fat shaming has led them to sit on the sofa and eat more food rather than go out and socialise, or sit inside and starve themselves and not feel attractive enough to engage in meeting people because they haven't actually got any weight on them. They're very thin and they've been using the fat shaming to stay very thin, and they don't go out on a date because they feel too thin, or they worry if they go out and socialise people will judge them or say things to them. So fat shaming can lead to binge eating disorder, to emotional eating disorder, to anorexia, to bulimia. And it certainly was the case for me with my bulimia. If you're sick and tired of feeling bad about yourself and or you want to change your size and self-image, you need to switch from negative to positive internal self-talk. Fat shaming can be one of the most common emotional eating causes, as I mentioned, as the more you tell yourself you are going to get fat or that you are fat, the worse you will feel and worry about your size, and then in turn you're more likely to engage in the emotional eating disorder behaviour. Whether your pattern is a tendency to starve yourself, to encourage yourself to purge, take laxatives, be sick, or to eat less through fat shaming. Knowing that you are causing heavy damage to yourself is key. It really is damaging. It's not just words, they have a real impact on our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. I spent every day from at least 13, 14 years of age until I became around 35 fat shaming myself. I would look in the mirror at my stomach and call myself fat. Tell myself that my stomach was so big I looked pregnant. Every time I ate a meal that was what I labelled too much, I would say to myself, you're going to get fat. If I ate a high fat food or a high sugar food, I'd say, you're going to get fat. And if I skipped a meal and didn't eat hardly anything at all in a day, I'd praise myself. And this was torture, because I was constantly judging myself and associating my self-worth with my body size and daily food choices. My happiness was linked to what I ate rather than the real things that matter. You can stop emotional eating and fat shaming by changing what you say to yourself, where you can replace negative habits with nourishing ones. This will not only help your food choices and behaviours, it will also lead you to develop a healthier acceptance of your body and who you really are. You are not your body. I am not my body. We are more than that. Jenny I worked with to change her negative self-talk saw herself as fat. She had seen herself as fat her whole life, and as a child she was called fat at school, and in her family it was always a joke that she would eat all the cakes and sweets. This mental image of herself from childhood as a fat and greedy one stayed. She didn't just judge herself as fat, she had come to know herself as fat, her body as fat, and identified herself as being a fat person. This is one of the biggest obesity and emotional eating causes. It's why people put on weight straight after they come off a diet and fail to keep the weight off. It's because on the conscious and subconscious level, they see themselves a certain way, and they know themselves as a certain way, and therefore they'll slip back into the habits to meet the way that we see ourselves. And this happens all the time. According to Anthony Robbins, the most famous world life coach, the most successful coach I think there is, says that we do everything to keep true to our identity that we have of ourselves. So if we identify ourselves with being big, if we identify ourselves with being underweight, if we identify ourselves with being or having parts of our body that are fat, then we're going to end up matching that. Our behaviour will match that, as we will always go back to what we identify ourselves as, according to Anthony Robbins. And I think that is really true, and this is proven time and time again. You only need to look at the statistics that show over 80% of people put all the weight back on they lost within 2 to 3 years, and over 87% within 5 years. People put all the weight back on. Why is this? Because the belief that they are fat hasn't changed. The belief that they are a bigger person is still there. So their food choices and behaviour leads them back to where they started. For long-term lasting results, we need to switch the way you view yourself and the way you talk to yourself. With those who invest in working with me one-to-one, online, we cover powerful ways to shatter their old images and to change and reinforce the images that they are healthy and slim, that they are fit and active, or whatever it is that that person wants. Emotional eating therapy has to change the deep-rooted self-image and self-talk that leads to healthy eating self-sabotage. We sabotage ourselves because deep down we have a core belief that we are a certain way. When Jenny I worked with changed the way she saw herself, using the clearing process I took her through, and completing a specially designed hypnotherapy session for her to switch her negative self-talk to positive self-talk, she found it far easier to stick to healthy choices and say no to others. She was easily motivated, and most importantly, she began to really feel what it was like to love herself. She stopped saying to herself that she had fat thighs, thunder thighs, double chin, flabby arm tops, stomach rolls. We replaced all of that with positive, empowering statements that I'll share a bit more on in a moment. Before Jenny came to me, she had tried everything. She had tried all the diets, several coaching programs, even hypnotherapy, and none of it worked, as they didn't understand that this mental image and the self-talk that was going on is the key to change. She'd even tried eating disorder counselling, where they told her that she had to just accept her size, that she would never probably get much slimmer, and they told her that she just needs to eat certain foods at certain times of the day, whether she liked it or not, even if she didn't feel hungry. And this made her feel trapped and unmotivated. She took it as the therapist saying to her that you are fat and you will always stay fat, so don't even attempt to change it, just be happy. Yet Jenny longed for more for herself, longed for more for her family and her husband. Another lady I worked with, Karen, was anorexic bulimic, and she always used to say to herself that she was going to get fat, that certain foods were fattening. She had so many rules in her head about nearly every kind of food out there. To her, even healthy foods were fattening and bad, like carrots and avocados. This fat shaming caused her a great deal of anxiety and led her to be bulimic at the fear of being fat whenever she ate a normal-sized meal. She struggled to break the cycle of anorexia and bulimia and get to a healthy weight because she had such a fear of being fat. Deep down, she was scared of being fat and being unloved by others because she equated, if I get fat, I'll be unlovable. And most of all, she wouldn't be able to stand herself. She wouldn't be able to love herself if she got any bigger. This was what the root, and this came from a couple of painful experiences in her past. And therefore, changing her size meant that she may be unhappy. But she wasn't really aware of this. And so changing her self-talk really made a huge difference. Because after every meal, she would say to herself, you're going to be fat. And she'd been doing this for most of her life. The anxiety that it created was unbearable. She never had any peace of mind. And sometimes, if she really ate more than what she wanted to do, it would just repeat on her mind again and again and again. And then she would be back to either starving herself or purging due to this negative self-talk. So how do we stop emotional eating and break the pattern of fat shaming? Well, there are so many tools and techniques, and I don't have time to go through all of them. So I'll just focus on two main ones today. These are change the voice in your head and know that you are more than your body. So the first one is to remind yourself that you are more than your body. Do you know that? You are so much more than your body. Your body is a vehicle for your soul and spirit. Your body is part of you. It's something to love and nurture, but it's not who you are. I used to fat shame myself all the time for countless years, and when I decided to change this and help free myself, I would say, I am not my body. I am a beautiful, loving soul that cares for others and myself. I'm a beautiful soul who's on a mission to help others love themselves. This is who I am. And I'm also a sister, a daughter, a friend, a podcaster. I'm lots of different things. We all are. We are not our bodies. Other women and men I've supported have said, my worth is not determined by my weight or size. I have compassion, ambition and love, which is far more important than the way I look. Or one man I worked with said, I am powerful, strong, successful. I am loving, kind, and care about animals and the earth. I am more than my body. I don't know if you're a fan of Eckhart Tolle. I am. He states that the best way to break free from the ego form of body identification is to not convince ourselves that we are not our body, although that is a good, but instead to feel its aliveness inside. No matter what your body experience is on the outer level, beyond the outer form is an intensely alive energy field. And if we're not aware of the energy field that we have inside, then let's do an exercise together. So, as I continue talking now, what I'd really love you to do is just get your right hand, look at your right hand, and then just start shaking your right hand. Just completely shaking your hand from your wrist, just completely shaking your hand, and just keep shaking it, and just keep